By the time a man crosses 40, the world expects him to look tired, worn down, slower than he used to be, emotionally dulled by compromise and routine. That expectation didn't come out of nowhere. It was built on a specific model of life that told men their value peaks early, that marriage is the stabilizing finish line, and that sacrifice is the price of maturity. But something strange has been happening quietly in the background. Single men over 40 are not aging the way that model predicted. Many of them look sharper, think clearer, move with more purpose, and carry a calm authority that married men their age often struggle to maintain. This isn't about bitterness, and it isn't about hating relationships. It's about understanding how freedom, pressure, responsibility, and identity shape a man over decades, not years. Aging is not just biological. It's psychological, hormonal, behavioral, and deeply tied to stress. When men are young, stress feels invisible because the body can absorb it. Testosterone is high, recovery is fast, sleep is forgiving, and mistakes don't show on the face yet. After 40, stress stops hiding. It etches itself into posture, into skin, into energy levels, into how a man reacts when things don't go his way. Chronic stress accelerates aging more than almost any other factor, and the type of stress matters. The stress of purpose sharpens a man. The stress of obligation without meaning slowly erodes him. Many married men don't realize how much invisible stress they carry because it became normal. Financial pressure that never switches off. Emotional labor where they are expected to be stable, supportive, and available while suppressing their own uncertainty. Decision fatigue from constantly negotiating, compromising, and managing other people's expectations. Over time, this creates a background noise in the nervous system. Cortisol stays elevated. Sleep quality drops. Recovery slows. Weight creeps in. The face hardens not with wisdom, but with tension. Single men over 40, especially those who stayed single intentionally or rebuilt their lives after a breakup, often live under a different stress profile. Their stress is episodic, not constant. They worry about money, health, purpose, and loneliness like anyone else, but they control the rhythm of their days. Control is a powerful anti-aging force. When a man controls his time, his sleep, his diet, his physical training, and his mental space, his body responds. Hormones stabilize. Inflammation decreases. Energy becomes predictable instead of chaotic. There is also the issue of identity. Married men often fuse their identity with their role. Husband, provider, father, protector. These are honorable roles, but they can quietly replace the man's individual identity if he is not careful. When a man's sense of self becomes conditional on being needed, approved of, or relied upon, he stops exploring who he is becoming. Growth slows, curiosity dulls, risk-taking disappears. The body mirrors this psychological stagnation. Movement becomes cautious. Posture collapses inward. Expression becomes guarded. Single men over 40 are forced into a different confrontation. Without a built-in role to hide behind, they must define themselves or drift. The ones who age poorly do drift, but the ones who age well become intentional. They choose their values consciously. They design routines instead of inheriting them. They pursue mastery because no one else is managing their trajectory. This self-authorship keeps the mind young. Learning new skills, training the body, traveling alone, building businesses, or simply refining taste and standards all stimulate neuroplasticity. The brain stays flexible and the face follows the mind. There is also a brutal truth most people avoid saying out loud. Many marriages, especially those formed under social pressure rather than genuine alignment, quietly punish male vitality. Not because women are bad, but because modern relationships often operate on unclear expectations and constant emotional negotiation. Men are told to be open but not weak, strong but not dominant, present but not obsessed, ambitious but always available. Living in that contradiction for decades drains masculine polarity. When polarity collapses, desire fades, resentment grows, and men start living in a low-energy, low-assertion state. That state ages men fast. Single men don't escape all contradictions, but they don't live inside one full time. Their masculine energy has room to express itself without apology. They lift heavy. They train hard. They speak directly. They take risks without asking permission. The body responds to this alignment. Muscle tone improves. Fat distribution changes. Eye contact strengthens. Voice deepens not in pitch but in confidence. Another overlooked factor is social selection. Married men often shrink their social circle over time. Friendships become conditional and infrequent. Conversations revolve around logistics, complaints, or nostalgia. Single men, if they are socially intelligent, maintain or rebuild diverse social networks. Younger friends, older mentors, creative peers, disciplined athletes. Exposure to varied perspectives keeps a man mentally agile. It prevents him from freezing in a single era. Mental agility slows cognitive aging and supports emotional regulation. Sexual dynamics also play a role, but not in the shallow way people assume. It's not about chasing youth or validation. It's about desire as a life force. Men who feel desired, who experience attraction without obligation, often carry themselves differently. Desire sharpens presence. It reinforces self-care. It motivates discipline. Married men can experience this too, but many don't, especially when long-term resentment or routine replaces polarity. When desire disappears, men often unconsciously let themselves go because the feedback loop is gone. Single men remain in the feedback loop. The mirror talks back. There is also the question of regret versus responsibility. Married men often suppress regret because it threatens stability. Suppression has a cost. It shows up as irritability, numbness, or quiet depression. Single men are forced to face regret directly. They either drown in it or transmute it into action. The ones who choose action rebuild themselves aggressively. That rebuilding phase often produces the most dramatic physical and psychological upgrades. Men in their 40s suddenly look better than they did at 30 because they finally became disciplined, focused, and honest. Modern culture still sells the idea that being single over 40 is a failure state for men. Reality tells a more complex story. Men who stay single accidentally, without purpose or structure, often age poorly. Men who stay single deliberately, with standards and self-respect, often age exceptionally well. The difference is not marital status. It's agency. Agency slows aging. Helplessness accelerates it. The reason this feels almost conspiratorial is because it contradicts what many men were promised. They were told stability equals happiness, sacrifice equals respect, and conformity equals maturity. What they were not told is that unexamined stability becomes stagnation, unchosen sacrifice becomes resentment, and conformity without meaning becomes decay. Single men over 40 who rejected scripts and wrote their own lives often look younger, not because time treated them kindly, but because they treated themselves seriously. This doesn't mean marriage is a trap. It means marriage amplifies whatever foundation a man brings into it. A disciplined, self-directed man can thrive in marriage. An undisciplined man will dissolve faster. Single life simply removes the buffer that hides these truths. That's why the contrast becomes visible after 40. Biology no longer lies. The face tells the story. When you see a 45-year-old single man who moves with calm confidence, who dresses simply but intentionally, who speaks slowly and listens carefully, you're not seeing luck. You're seeing years of self-regulation, selective stress, and identity clarity. You're seeing a man who learned to live without constant validation. That independence is deeply attractive and deeply stabilizing. It's also deeply anti-aging. Aging well is not about avoiding commitment. It's about avoiding unconscious living. Many married men wake up at 50 wondering where their edge went. Many single men wake up at 50 knowing exactly who they are, what they tolerate, and what they're building next. Time respects the second man more. The body follows suit. And that is why, quietly and without headlines, single men over 40 are aging better than many of their married counterparts. Not because they escaped responsibility, but because they chose responsibility for themselves first.